play around.
Hi, hi, we're called Muse and you're watching MTV.de. I think
feel the need to top ourselves.
it's funny because I'm not sure if you know the.
It's an English. Sorry.
That's what you get.
Do we feel the need to top ourselves sometimes in the studio? Because topping ourselves is an English phrase to
commit suicide.
Yeah,
you know yeah. So if in English say top yourself means commit suicide. So it's quite a funny question. Like, do you feel like you need to top yourself after every album? That's an interesting question. But I think what you mean is you mean it in the literal way.
better ourselves.
Better ourselves. And I think each album we just go a little bit. We research a different area of our own musical ideas, so I don't think we are necessarily going bigger or deeper. I think we are just going for something a little bit different, and then sometimes that is successful in terms of its musical content. Sometimes it's a bit strange, but I think either way, I think we're quite concerned with making each album have a little bit of a separate identity to the previous album. Well, the 1984 reference is probably influenced more by, a little bit by the book by England. England is getting a little bit like this. It has more cameras watching you in England much more than any other country in the world. I think London has got something like 10 cameras per person or something ridiculous like this. It's become very, very. In London, you cannot move without being photographed. Everywhere you go, every taxi, every train, everywhere, every street, every shop, everything. Your whole life can be filmed. Which is quite funny. It's quite scary as well. So that made me reminded me of the interest in Big Brother and all that kind of stuff. 1984, and that had a bit of an influence. Being in Italy, I think, had an influence in terms of it's a very, very romantic location, very beautiful landscapes and mountains and lakes and stuff. So I think this probably added a little bit of kind of romance to the album as well. Yeah. I don't really care about that. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice compliment, but I mean, it's very strange. Yeah, very strange. But don't really think about that kind of stuff. Budgets are definitely different, aren't they? I think it's a very boring question, a boring answer, but the music industry has changed dramatically. As you know, it's reduced in size, and for this reason, in the 90s, 80s, especially the 80s, bands were given extraordinary budgets for making an album. Extraordinary, like it's like making a film or something. But what happened in this decade is there's been a very, very, very big reduction in this budget, and so for this reason, there's been a lot of successful artists who are making very, very lo-fi productions which are costing very little, like recording in 2 weeks. So I think this is one of the reasons why some of the most successful artists in this decade have been very, very minimal in their recording approach. White Stripes, also Strokes a little bit, and various other bands. Even Arctic Monkeys' first album was kind of very kind of self-recorded. So I think self-production has become more kind of had to become more fashionable in this decade because the budgets of the 80s and 90s don't exist anymore. But we are lucky because we do very well live. So for this reason, we are able to still explore larger scale concepts within the album making process because we are not using the funding process from a record company. We are using the funding process from this concert. I've still never seen it. We had a game. Dom and Chris were playing a game. It was a world tour, wasn't it? Or something?
Yeah, me and Chris played a bit of Guitar Hero in the studio, which was fun, but not the one that he was on. But we should buy it, really, shouldn't we? And try.
Yeah,
and find
I've never seen it, so I'd like to see it. Yeah, but it's good because some very, very young people have discovered the music, like my nephew, my brother's son, who is 11 now. He was not really doesn't really know rock music like this, but now he sort of knows the band because of this game, which is quite interesting. Yeah. Future predictions. There you go. The mechanisms which are creating society could be called artificial selection, from a Darwinian perspective, and it's basically pushing nature to its absolute limit of capacity for human beings to consume. And I think we are approaching this limit. I think there might be some scientific breakthroughs which cause the expansion of population a little bit further, but I think we are definitely approaching the limit of what natural resources can sustain at this level. So when you reach this point, the only thing that makes the solution is natural selection. Natural selection will come in the form of either war or famine or asteroids. But I think that's kind of the future.
Yeah.
December the 21st, 2012. You know, like the film that's out now, it's going to destroy the planet.
No, but I mean natural selection on a grand scale. If you look at geological time, always has a way of creating a new start. You know, so I think that the question is the way that human species is set up, is that ever going to create a way where it can avoid natural selection? Because natural selection will always have the ultimate decision process in what happens on the planet, you know, whether it be, you know, some problem. So the question is, how long do we have until the next major natural selection process of geological movement or of some description? You know, it could be 10,000 years, or it could be 1,000,000 years, or it could be 1,000 years. Between now and then, it's just a case of constant attempts at growth and pushing, and you know, the corporate structures have made a very good job of maximalising the ability to survive. You know, but this at the same time has had a very destructive effect on the Earth. You know.